Super League.
2019 Betfred Women's Super League champions, the Leeds Rhinos. Absolutely fabulous.
Saints are champions of Super League again.
Hello and welcome to the Last Tackle, Betfred's brand new Rugby League show. The action is just 2 days away. This is League.
We are the champions.
Here goes Regan Grace. We've seen him do that so many times this season. Can he get away?
We are coming home.
Good Virgin. He's going all the way. Somebody stop him.
We are back.
Look at the strength. Look at the strength of Mahe Fanua.
It is all over. Anthony Gelling has picked their pockets and Wigan have won.
We are the finishers.
Miller goes wide again. Johnstone! Oh!
We have arrived.
The score. It'll be Maloney. Oh, Kenny Down has got a treble.
We won't stop.
Lussick and Emmons is in for another golden try.
We have something to prove.
He's going to get the ball, a big chase on him. Goal! Danny Richardson!
We are men of steel.
And Hastings has left it till last to show his class.
We play league.
And I'm delighted to welcome to the studio 9-time Grand Final winner, which is a record, Jamie Peacock, and 4-time Grand Final winner, Paul Sculthorpe. But there's only one place to start this lunchtime. It was announced that controversial former Australian rugby union player Israel Folau has signed for the Catalan Dragons. First of all, here's a statement from the RFL. The RFL confirms that the registration of Israel Folau with Catalan Dragons will not be prevented. This is a difficult decision as the RFL places a high value on the sport's reputation in prioritising inclusion and diversity and deplores the players' previous comments. However, the moral responsibility for deciding whether to sign a player sits with individual clubs. The player has not been charged or found guilty of any criminal offence. However distasteful his previous comments, we don't believe that, under our current regulatory framework, these can present his participation in the sport. We have sought and received reassurances from both the player and the club regarding future behaviour. The RFL has taken and will continue to take action where any player breaches expected standards of behaviour while registered with a club, and comments that conflict with our commitment to inclusion and diversity across the game will not be tolerated. I've now got a statement from Super League Executive Chairman Robert Elston. Super League deplores the homophobic comments Israel Folau has made in the past, which squarely contradict our sport's core values. I have sought the opinion of informed voices connected to our game, and the majority share my disappointment that one of our clubs has chosen to sign him. There is a strong feeling that the decision to sign him lets down many people connected to our sport. I made Catalan Dragons aware of those views. However, Super League does not have the authority to veto the registration of players and is satisfied by the due diligence carried out by the Rugby Football League. Israel Folau is a free agent who has a right to work, and he has not been charged or found guilty of any criminal offence. Catalan Dragons have assured Super League that strict guidelines are in place to prevent the player from repeating his comments. Now, the player himself has said this: I acknowledge the views expressed by Super League and the Rugby Football League. I'm a proud Christian. My beliefs are personal. My intention is not to hurt anyone, and I will not be making further public comments about them. I look forward to my return to the great game of rugby league with the Catalan Dragons. And finally, the Catalan Dragons chairman, Bernard Gauche, has said this: we have signed an agreement with the RFL. Any transgression will trigger an immediate termination of Israel's contract and a substantial fine for the club. Jamie, I'm going to start with you and I'll refer to the RFL statement. The moral responsibility for deciding whether to sign a player sits with individual clubs.
Yeah, I mean, you can take that statement how you want it, but I think you don't take a genius to read between the lines that the RFL and Super League are not particularly happy with this, and if legally could have their way, then Israel would not be playing in our competition. And if we're being honest, he's only in our competition because he's not allowed to play anywhere else at the moment. And for me, I agree with them that morally in life, you've got to make the right decisions. It's not always about what's legally right, it's about what is morally right. And I believe the Catalan Dragons have got this one wrong, in my opinion, given where the game's been heading over the last 10 or 15 years in terms of inclusion and diversity. For me, it's a step backwards, and it's the club that needs to take responsibility for that and understand the moral problems that this will cause throughout the game.
Scully, I'm going to read a part of Robert Elston's statement to you. There is a strong feeling that the decision to sign him lets down many people connected to our sport.
Definitely, you know, I'm disgusted with Catalan as I was disgusted with Israel when it come out. As Jamie said, you know, our game has grown so much over the past decade, you know, with diversity and inclusivity, and you know, look at the PDRL, the LDRL, everything that our game's done and grown in the past few years. This is not good, but unfortunately, as the statements say, the RFL and Super League as a body cannot do anything about it. It comes purely down to the decision of the Catalan Dragons to include him because what he did was deemed not to be criminal.
Quite an incredible story. So Israel Folau has signed for the Catalan Dragons. Now, recently, if an event showed what a great family rugby league is the events at Headingley on Sunday, the 12th of January.
79th minute before we get a winner.
Oh, he's got Sonny Burrow! And he's outstripped Wellens! It's a brilliant Burrow!
One of the smallest players in one of the toughest of sports. For nearly 2 decades, Rob Burrow defied expectation and often logic to write his name deep into rugby league folklore. Never before, however, had he played in a game quite like this one. Since his diagnosis with motor neurone disease just before Christmas, the response from the rugby league community was staggering.
Overwhelmed, humble, overawed by it all. Amazing day, amazing atmosphere, and I'm truly proud that the fans turned up for me and support me and my mate Jonesy. So, amazing day.
But it wasn't just the fans that rallied around Rob. The moment that Jamie Jones Buchanan announced he'd be splitting the gate from his testimonial game, legends from both the Bradford Bulls and some of Rob's old Leeds Rhinos teammates put their hand up to take the field one last time.
It's more than a game. It's about community. It's what makes sports so magic. This is what makes sports so magic, is that we all come together and for a common cause, and we can break down all nonsense. There's no politics here. There's no animosity. There's just love, and you know, it's great to be a part of it.
It may have been a friendly, but some habits die hard, and it didn't take long before the old guard would get stuck into each other. In some cases, even their own teammates.
Friendly fire from Kylie. Kylie's a big fat head with my head, and mine came off second best. All for a good cause though. I wouldn't miss this for the world. It was fantastic to be out there. Great to be amongst all the ex-players again. Just what an amazing day. You know, really difficult, trying circumstances.
For years, this group of players was roared on by the Leeds Rhinos fans, but this is the time for a very different type of support. With over £200,000 raised and a sellout at Headingley, there can be no doubt that Rob Burrow has the entire sport behind him.
He deserves it. He deserves it. He's an absolute champion bloke, and what he's done for this club and some of the memories that he's brought this team and this club. So, you know, I'm not surprised how everyone's got behind him and how he's attacking the illness. Really, it's the same way, the same way he approached games. He's a little terrier, a little warrior, and I'm sure he'll fight all the way to the end, and we'll be there alongside him to support him.
Enemies on the terrace, but a community everywhere else. Once again, Rugby League has shown the best of itself in the hardest of circumstances.
We may not be the biggest sport with a close knit. The Rugby League community has been 100% behind me.
And if you want to get involved, you can donate. There's a Virgin Money page to donate to Rob Burrow. Right, one of his old teammates, and you saw him there with a cut head and a game at Headingley. Jamie Peacock, first of all, we all found out just before Christmas. Incredible news.
Yeah, it was devastating. I think I found out through Kevin, and I just, for me personally, I found it really difficult to get my head around it for a number of days. But then I think once the news was settled, I think like most people in the sport, you just want to help him, just want to help him and his family. That's all you can try doing. I think just the way the game as a whole has rallied round Rob, and it's not just Leeds, it's every club. Just speaks volumes for the game, but also I think, with the respect that Rob's held of within the game, I think Rob was a unique player. There's not a player. There's only a couple of players, I think, in the recent history, his size, had careers like himself. One's Alfie Langer in Australia, the other one's Rob Burrows, and I think, for me, Rob epitomises everything that's good about our game. He's tough, he's tenacious, but he played the game with in the right spirit and with a smile on his face and his sense of humour, and I think that's the reasons why people have been drawn to him. And it's just the event at Headingley was a bit sweet occasion. I thought just showed how good Rugby League can be in looking after their own and the community can. But again, it's one where nobody really wants to be there because you don't want your friend to be ill. But I think what an event and what a day it was. It was very memorable.
You mentioned Kevin Sinfield. He said to me that he's so humbled by this, is Rob. Yeah. But he said any of that dressing room, you'd be doing exactly the same because you were such a close bunch. Yeah, we would. Yeah, we were a close bunch. We played together for a number of years, a number of games on the field together, and you get to know each other. And when you become teammates that close, it goes far beyond the rugby field and lasts far beyond your careers. And I was at a Lions dinner a couple of days ago, and there's guys there who've been together 50, 60 years, and they still share that same sense and bond together, and I think we do as well, and we're lucky to have that group together. And how did you get the bang on the head?
Well, I got friendly fire through Kylie Lulu. I said, if there's one thing I'm going to come off second best to, it's Samoan's head. And Kylie's head hit mine and it split my head open. But I think Kylie was looking to try and get another contract for next year, the way he played.
And as a rumour, you'd rocked up with a headache anyway because you'd been skiing, hadn't you?
Yeah, it was a double headache. I had hangover and a headache from concussion.
Scully, what was it like playing against Rob Burrow? Because what was he, 5 foot, 4.5 or whatever?
Awful, to be honest, because I'd rather tackle a 6'8" giant than a 5'3" whippet, and that's what Rob was. But just an unbelievable competitor, outstanding player. His record speaks for himself of what he achieved in the game, and it was heartbreaking to hear the diagnosis. And I was actually at a dinner when it come through, and I was getting texts, and obviously the statement and the interview with Rob had gone out, and I only played in a game with Rob at the end of September in an All-Stars game, and as much as the conversation after the game was, why the hell did you retire? He was absolutely lying, cutting people apart, and to hear that and then to see the interview, of the deterioration that it had at the time was heartbreaking. But as Jamie says, you don't want to go. We took a minibus over of all the the ex-Saints and when Wigan boys, we got a table at the game. You don't want to be there because one of your ex-teammates or opponents is poorly, but unfortunately you can't change that. You can't change the diagnosis. All you can do is support him in his fight going forward. And it was probably one of the best occasions in regards to atmosphere and just somebody said in who I was sat with, they said it's more like going to a concert because everybody's on the same team. You go in there to watch an event, and everybody was. I never thought I'd say I was a rhino for the day, but I think we all was that day.
You got that on film now.
I know.
But he'll talk about Saints a lot later, don't worry. Look, what proved for me is what Rugby League means to so many people, the Rugby League community, the Rugby League family, because there's all sorts of... Look, I only watched it on TV, which, Sky, Brian Carney, they all did an unbelievable job. They all worked for free. It was fantastic. It was a coverage. But there was so many different shirts in that crowd.
Yeah, there wasn't, and it was, as I say, everybody was a rhino for the day that day and supporting Rob and Jamie Jones Buchanan as well, because you know, celebration for the career that he's had, you know, unbelievable, you know, patron of our game. And as you say, everybody was there for that one occasion to support them guys, and obviously, you know, Rob in his fight, and it was a real special occasion, and we always say we do it the best in Rugby League of supporting our own, and that just to, you know, epitomise the game.
I've got 2 questions for you, Jamie. Look, outstanding career. He won 8 Super League titles. He won the Harry Sunderland Trophy twice. But the one game that sticks out for me is that 2011 final. I mean, he was superb, wasn't he? And obviously, it was that solo try as well.
Yeah, and I think he was outstanding in that game. And I think the first... the try he scored, I think that will be the best individual try there's been in the grand final. And also, you've got to take the context of that try. It was 2-2 at the time, and I think there'd been 30-odd minutes played. It was an arm wrestle of a game, broke the game open, and then you saw again in the clips it was 16-all, and he created another try off the back of it. And just a couple of years before that as well, Rob just wasn't a good domestic player. In the last series for Great Britain against New Zealand, Rob was he won the Player of the Series for Great Britain, and that's no mean feat to do when you're playing for your country as well.
He was a fighter on the pitch, and he's going to fight this head on, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Look, you don't have a career as long as he does without being brave and tenacious and being able to fight something against the odds. He was up against the odds the whole way through his career in terms of his size. And also, he's got a great sense of humour, and I think in any type of adversity, a sense of humour helps, and I think that's going to help him along the way too.
Yeah.
On the same day, we got more sad news with Masoe suffering a career-ending injury. I spoke to his coach, it's Tony Smith of Hull KR.
Tony, how is Massey?
Progressing, happy to say, progressing. It'll be a slow process, but he's making some really good progress. You know, more messages are getting through to his limbs that he starts to get more movement. It's difficult to get the right message out here. It's really positive about where he can get to in the long term, but it's also very serious. He's on his back for the next 6 weeks in Pinderfield Spinal Centre. How long he'll be there, we're not sure, but he's ready for the fight and the battle and the hard work and you know that it takes. But he's going well. He's going well. One of his real strengths is his positivity, and he's been exceptional. He's making sure that we're all feeling at ease when we go and see him, and sending messages to the players to let them know that he's coming along. So, you know, really nice, very strong.
Naturally, it's obviously hit the whole club.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's like it's like a family, or you know, next thing after your family for us. You know, we consider our fellow players and coaching staff and you know, as almost family outside of our family, spend so much time working together. So when you see somebody who can't do what they normally do in the way that they normally do, it hurts. And so it has an effect, absolutely. But it is, you know, and different people will cope with it in different ways. We've got some young people there that, you know, haven't got the coping mechanisms that some more senior players, but there's some senior players who are really close. So we've had some good support. Mainly, Rugby League Cares has been good, but mainly from Sporting Chance. They've come in and given us all some support, both individually but also as a group, as to how we can best cope and us be the best we can be for Massey and be strong for Massey.
On behalf of everyone at Betfred, I'd like to wish Rob and Massey all the best. And on the live Super League games, we do man of the match, and it's normally £250 to charity, but we've decided to double it this year. So Rob Burrow will get £250 and Masoe will get £250 as well. It's just a small bit we're trying to do to help both of them. And like I said, we wish them all best in, both their fights, Jamie.
Yeah, and I think it's outstanding, that Betfred are doing it. And I think it's just more than the money as well, because it just keeps them present in people's minds that they've still got this fight ongoing. So I think it's great that every game we see, their families are going to get that money, and it's just going to keep their news and their plight alive within the game as well.
Let's turn to the actual action. There's a new team in the Betfred Super League. It's the Toronto Wolfpack. They were promoted last season from the Championship, and they have signed a superstar, a global superstar, an iconic player in Sonny Bill Williams.
Oh, a lot of reasons. But I guess for me right now, it's about having fun, enjoying the journey, and being grateful to be back in a game that I grew up playing. So it's going to be a long season, but hopefully it's a fruitful one, not just for myself individually, but for us as a Toronto Wolfpack team.
And why Toronto?
Yeah, it kind of all came to fruition in a short amount of time. I didn't know what I was doing. I was close to staying back in New Zealand for another year, but then this opportunity arose and started schooling up on Toronto, the team, Toronto itself, the Super League, and it just got me buzzing again. So I'm here and I'm excited and I'm ready to get stuck into it.
And how's pre-season been so far?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. It hasn't been without its challenges, but for something special to, I guess, happen on the field, you have to go through those challenges, and just getting used to the dynamics that is, rugby league, and the different dynamics that it takes to play the game as a forward. Coming from the 15-man game as a back is a little bit of a tough transition again, but I've done it before, and I'm confident if I keep it really, really simplistic in my approach and what I want to achieve, then I have no doubt by the end of the year I'll be firing. God willing, I prevent injuries as well. So.
Yeah, it was me speaking to Sonny Bill Williams. Won the NRL, of course, and won 2 World Cups. Right then, talking of superstars, he's a proper superstar.
Yeah, he is. You got it right before. He's a global superstar, and I think it's incredible that he's playing in Super League, and I think you've just got to applaud Toronto for having the audacity and the financial backing to bring him into the competition. I think I love watching him play. I think he's a guy who marries supreme natural talent with a great work ethic, and there's not many of those around playing in any sport, and I think anytime you get to see him play, I think he'll lighten up the game.
Scully, he's going to put bums on seats this season, isn't he?
It certainly is, and I think you see the PR that the game's already had. Before he's played a game, I think as JP said, it's been, plaudits to Toronto for pushing the boat out to get him on board. He is a global superstar, and he still looks in tremendous condition, that he can hopefully still carry it out on the field.
Yeah, 34 years of age.
Yeah, I think he's an extreme professional. I don't think you'll see him playing 37 games this year, but I think you'll see him figuring 20. And I think when he plays for Toronto, he'll be worth 6 points himself, but probably another 6 points to the Toronto side in the way that he'll raise their games. When you're playing next to a player like that, you want to play better yourself, you want to impress him. So it could be a real influence on where Toronto end up in the league this year.
And hopefully you'll get to see him in his double header on Sunday at Headingley.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. See how it goes. Freezing Leeds Day on Sunday in January. But I'm looking forward to him. I think a lot of people come to the game to watch him. There's not many players in the game of rugby league who you can say that. It's a guy who's just retired, Sam Burgess. You would say that he's a person who put bums on seats. So does Sonny Bill Williams.
He certainly does. And what do you think Toronto can do this season? I think the massive advantage you have got is your old boss, Brad McDermott.
Yeah, Mac is one of the best in the business. There's no doubt about that. Having worked with him and worked with a number of different coaches, I think he's an excellent coach. He's got a good take on how to manage people. Their biggest concern is just going to be injuries. It's really, how can you go into a Super League season with 23 players? You need 30 within there, so they're going to have a lot of luck, or they're going to struggle with some games. They might even struggle to field teams, so they're going to have to get players in on loan.
Yeah, definitely. At the start of the year, 23 is certainly not big enough to go throughout the year. Not in the nature of this game, with injuries. And don't forget, a lot of them players are at the back end of the wrong end of 30 as well. Players like John Wilkin, who, he left Saints to go to Toronto to play in the Championship. He's finding himself back in Super League now in the big league, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, wish Toronto the best of luck, and as I mentioned, you'll be able to see him in action on Sunday. Double header on Sky, Toronto versus Castleford, and then Leeds versus Hull. Right, Skull, I've been working with you for a number of seasons. I think it's a record. You've only mentioned Saints twice, and we've been doing this for about 20 minutes. Right, with all that's gone on, obviously, Saints are the champions. Saints are the team to beat again this year.
Yeah, I spoke about Saints last year and I proved right, didn't I? Yeah, they are the team to beat.
You're not going to tip anyone else, are you?
No. I think everybody's tipping Saints because, they are the team to beat. There's no changes on the playing staff from last year. There's only Adam Swift who's gone to Hull FC, and he didn't figure in much of the the Saints games last year. The only difference is obviously the gaffer. Justin Holbrook back to Australia and Christian Wolff in, and I think Christian Wolff's pedigree speaks for itself, and what he's done with the Tongan national side as well as his work in the NRL. So the players are out there on the field, and no doubt going into this season very confident on what they achieved last year.
Well, let's hear from Christian Wolff. We asked him what it's like to inherit a winning team.
Is it a good thing inheriting a champion team, or is it added pressure?
Oh, look, it's a bit of both, I think. Usually you go to a team where things haven't worked out so well, and you've got plenty of things that you need to change and need to try and improve. And my situation's a little bit different. I'm coming into a team where things have been done really well. There's a lot of really good things in place, and our challenge is a little bit different there because we've got to find ways to be a little bit better again. The competition's going to be stronger, and we need to make sure that we're still at the forefront of that. And again, trying to find improvement, and the players have really bought into that over the pre-season and worked really hard. So with that certainly comes a bit of expectation and a bit of pressure, but you'd rather be with a team that you have some good habits and that you can build on and that are going to be competitive, and that's certainly what we got.
You've kept the same squad, you've not added to it, but how different is St Helens footy going to be in 20 compared to 19?
Well, look, I think you'll see some differences. I'm certainly different as a coach to what Justin was, and there's plenty of things that Justin did really well that we obviously want to maintain, and we've identified a couple of things that we think we can be better at, and I think you'll see that because they've worked really hard on it through the pre-season. So, I guess you'll see in a couple of weeks, and we'll all be able to judge how those changes are gone.
Christian Wolff talking to Lewis, and we've got a St Helens legend with us. He's not biased at all, but he will be tipping the Saints to win it. He says he can improve the Saints. Now that's a tough ask, isn't it? You won the regular season by 16 points.
Yeah, I think they're obviously the most consistent team throughout last year, but as JP will tell you as well, as a player, you're never the finished article. There's always improvement, and you don't know what Christian's philosophy is on the way he wants the team to play. No doubt there'll be differences in the way Justin Holbrook. So he might see things that Saints really didn't do last year that he wants them to do this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare. But obviously going into it very, very, very confident.
I don't think we'll win the regular season by 16 points this year, will I? I think if they do win, it's going to be a lot closer.
Yeah, I think for me, they've got the best team on paper still. I think they've got a great squad, and I like Christian Wolff as well. I think the way he's brought the Tongan side together to beat the Australians speaks volumes about his coaching. I don't think one of the differences might be that I think last year Saints had a point to prove to everybody because they had the title as chokers, and rightly so, that they've not been able to win the big competitions the last couple of years. They haven't got that anymore. It's not that fire in the belly to try win. So what's going to motivate them to go back-to-back title winners? Then that's what Christian Wolff, I think, has got to do. He's got to motivate that group of players to want to go back-to-back winners.
I spoke to James Roby at the launch. He sounds as committed as ever, and he said it was that Challenge Cup defeat, but he felt really helped the end of a Super League season.
Yeah, James Roby committed. You're talking to Mr. Commitment there. He's, it's why he's been as good as he is for so long and still is. The Challenge couple are hurt last year. Obviously going into it, clear favourites on what they were doing in throughout Super League, and that'll be a big disappointment But yeah, they'll be looking to go. No, I know the way Saints as a club works, and it's about winning silverware, and they'll set their sights this year on cleaning up again.
And the fixture computer has thrown up a repeat of the grand final.
Yeah, funny how it does that, isn't it? Yeah, so obviously a big start, and I'm sure hopefully all the Salford fans get over to the Totally Wicked Stadium on the Friday to see that game. It should be a great atmosphere, and hopefully Saints will be looking to come out of the blocks and show Salford a very different team, obviously than what they had last year. Changes in their playing staff, but Ian Watson is doing a great job of that team.
Well, the Betfred Super League starts on Thursday night, live on Sky at 7:45, and it's Wigan versus Warrington.
Yeah, we had a tough start last year against St Helens. So, like you mentioned, it is a home game for us, and we're up for the challenge. It's always a great way to start the season with a belting game like this, and with a big crowd there, the arch rivalry will come out. Super League's back on for 2020. We're really excited.
A number of players have hit some PBs, which is pleasing, and add a few more kilos to their frame and improve their speed. So put it out in action last night against Salford. I was really pleased with the first hit out of Mike Cooper's testimonial. So we had a good roll out. We're in a good place. Excited for Wigan round one.
Wigan versus Warrington on Thursday night. On Friday night, it's St Helens versus Salford. We've got that double header on Sunday. Really looking forward to it. Right then, I'm going to ask you about Wigan, Scully, if you don't mind. I think they have obviously signed very, very well. George Burgess and Jackson Hastings.
Yeah, I think the big one, the one that stands out for me is obviously Jackson Hastings from Salford. I think it's something Wigan have lacked for a number of years, is an out-and-out half-back that directs them around the field. And Jackson will certainly do that. He's very, very vocal. He's a player who likes to attack, with the ball, running game and passing and kicking. And I think that's something that Wigan have lacked, with having George Williams, who liked to lock himself in that left side, and playing with Tommy Lutherwhite, who for me is a 9. So for me, Jackson will add a lot to that Wigan side.
What about Warrington? Obviously, Gareth Widdop's definitely out at the start of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a loss for them, but I think if you look at the Warrington side again, we say every year it's going to be their year, but I think having Widdop with Blake Austin, Stephen Ratchford and Daz Clark, I think that's a really good spine of any team. And I think if you look across their first 17, you'd have to be asking questions why they're not in finals, why they're not in Challenge Cup, why not they're first or second, or why they're not in the grand final at the end of this year. So again, I think they're going to be the main challengers to St Helens are Warrington, then closely followed by Wigan.
And we're going to see your old team Leeds on Sunday afternoon in this doubleheader. Look, I think we're all agreed we're going to see a better Leeds this year.
Yeah,
how much better is the question, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think if you look at the back end of the year, the Rhinos were not a bottom half of the table side, and I think Luke Gale's a great addition to them. Luke needs a big year, personally and at a club level. And I think
he knows that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and he's broad enough shoulders to deal with that and to cope with that. I think Leeds are probably 2 or 3 players away from being a top 3 side, but I think certainly they'll be 4, 5 and 6 and even pushing the top 3 rather than round the bottom where they've been over the last couple of years.
You're watching The Last Tackle, Betfred's brand new rugby league show. We sponsor the Super League, but we're also proud to sponsor the Championship, League One and the Women's Super League.
Sensational from Blake Austin. He can, coming, he can! Toronto are heading for Super League. 2019 Betfred Women's Super League champions, the Leeds Rhinos.
Yeah, we're proud to sponsor all these competitions in Rugby League. The Championship starts this weekend as well. Looks really competitive, looks intriguing as well. Let's hear from the RFL CEO Ralph Rimmer and some of the coaches from the Championship.
It's an absolute shark pool, the Betfred Championship. It will be One promotion place, obviously up for grabs. One of those teams is going to end up in Super League.
It's going to be tough. The Championship, we know, we've been there. We know it's a very tough competition, and there's some fantastic teams, and there'll be a lot of teams down there targeting promotion to Super League this year.
Want to make the semis. You're some chance, as Featherstone showed this year, to get there, or London the year before. But it's just work each week, week to week, to get to the playoffs. But we've got to make the playoffs. That's our aim this year.
Obviously, with the signings we've made, there becomes expectations of having a real good year. But I think with you look round at the signings at other clubs and squads elsewhere, it's going to be a real tough year. So
this year, you just sense London are a very good team. Toulouse are a very good team. You've got York, you've got Featherstone, you've got Widnes. There's about 8 to 9 teams I counted speaking to people through there. But you see all that. But everybody in that mix, you feel, could get in the playoffs. And once you get in the playoffs, you never know what can happen.
It is a ferocious place to play rugby league. It will produce really, really high intensity competition.
And you can watch some Championship action on the Our League app on Saturday night. It's Toulouse versus York at 5 o'clock. And London are 3-1 favourites. Then Toulouse at 100-30. Leeds 7-2. Featherstone at 4-1. York at 10s. Widnes at 20s. Bradford at 25-1. Scully, first of all, London was so unlucky in the end to get relegated from Super League.
They were. I mean, they were everybody's favourite for the wooden spoon last year. But what a fight they put up in Super League. I think continuing from that year before, and great that London stuck with majority of that squad that got them into Super League. And naturally, this year, with some of the performances, they lost a few players, to Super League clubs. But great to see, the job that Danny Ward and Jamie Langley are doing down there, and a lot of local talent as well coming through. They're strong in the academy, so hopefully, that can keep pushing through to that first team at London.
And when you look at the betting, London, Toulouse, Leeds, Featherstone, all close, and the betting looks really competitive.
It does. It's a real strong competition, and it will be a fight. Now the ruling on obviously how you get into Super League, there'll be a fight for that top spot.
And what about your old club, Bradford? I mean, great coach.
Yeah, they've got a great coach in John Keir. I'm still disappointed they're not playing Alto for me. It's one of the it's just disappointing. And I think for them, they'll be around mid-table. I think having looked at the strength of some of the sides in the Championship, I think there's some good quality teams in there, and I think it's an exciting competition now where you've got 5 or 6 teams who are quite evenly matched. And for me, I'll have Bradford mid-table, but I like the looks of Toulouse. I think what a look Super League would be if you had Toulouse in there, Toronto, Catalans to travel to. It's looking more cosmopolitan.
Yeah, well, and it's a huge prize, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a massive prize, and you can see that those teams understand that it's there for them. We haven't got the £1 million game anymore, but it's get through for a playoff, so they've really got a chance of getting up there, so they can invest some money in there, get into Super League.
Yeah, Toulouse were fantastic against York in the playoffs, and then disappointing against Featherstone as well. But certainly Toulouse are up there, the head of the betting to win the Championship. Let's turn our attention to League One. Loads of great stories in League One, and one of the stories is Newcastle. They just missed out on promotion, let's say, from their coach, Simon Finnegan.
Just missed out on promotion last year. How close do you think you were?
Oh, well, 80 minutes. We probably closer than that. The game was in the balance till the end, really. So it's disappointing. But as I said to the players after the game, I don't think we were quite ready, and I stood by that, and I don't think we were. I don't think we were ready to really get in the Championship and have a go. I've said since I've joined, I want to get promoted. I don't just want to get in the Championship and survive. We want to kick on and see where we can get to. So in terms of that, we weren't quite ready, but we were a game away from getting promoted. So if we did, I would have took it. So yeah, disappointing, but we go again.
Lewis talking to Simon Finnegan. We're talking about the great stories in Rugby League. Newcastle is one of them.
Yeah, so I've got to give plaudits to Newcastle. I see from my role within England a lot of what they do at youth and academy level. And there's a lot of talent in the North East, and Newcastle are really well organised in bringing that through. I've been up there at Kingston Park, a few times this year, and must credit Newcastle for the work that they're doing.
We'll have plenty more on the Championship and League One and the Women's Super League as well, which doesn't start until March. Leeds won the Super League last year, and they had the Woman of Steel as well, Courtney Hill, and I caught up with her at the Rugby League launch.
Betfred Super League champions last year, how did that feel?
Yeah, it felt very good. Still feels good, actually. No, it was a very special year, very memorable year. You know, to come away with 2 trophies, and we probably didn't expect that at points across the year when, you know, losses to Castleford 27-0 and moments like that, you think, have we got it in us? But hey, that's what sporting teams, you know, that great sporting wins. They're not always flawless, and that's what probably made last year so special, yeah.
And a personal milestone as well, the Woman of Steel.
Yeah, that was a lovely award to pick up. You know, it was great, but I wouldn't say it was the highlight of my year. Certainly the double win was the highlight of my year. And that award, I certainly accepted that on behalf of, you know, the entire team, and for what the coaching staff have put into me personally. You know, I can't thank them enough. The amount of sessions, you know, one-to-ones, I go in and do extras with them, and they, you know, Leon, our manager, comes in on weekends, drags his kids in to collect balls while I'm kicking, and, you know, Cuthbo's wisdom and experience that he passes on, and yeah, just a wonderful club to be a part of, and I'm so grateful for you know, the education around rugby league that I'm getting there, yeah.
And a women's game is going from strength to strength.
Yeah, it is, and we're seeing that in the expansion this year. There's more girls than ever that want to play rugby league and to join, which is brilliant, and I think the new structure will certainly provide you know, highly competitive matches, particularly come the back end of the year when the top 4 sort themselves out, and leading into an Ashes and a World Cup next year, 2021, a home World Cup. You know, that will only boost numbers and participation levels across the board. So really exciting sort of 24 months ahead, I suppose.
You've just called it a home World Cup. Is that how settled you are in Leeds now?
Yeah, home, I certainly call it home. I have many homes. When people ask me where's home, I have to actually think, because I feel like I have multiple. But yeah, Leeds is home. It's definitely home for now, and it feels like home, which is the most important thing. And that's, you know, credit to the wonderful people of the North. You know, I love it over here. I don't love the weather, I can tell you that for sure. But yeah, I certainly do consider it home for now.
Courtney Hill, the Woman of Steel. Well, Leeds did the double, won the Challenge Cup. Everyone fancied Castleford to then go and win the Super League, but as per normal, Leeds dug in and won it.
Yeah, well, it's been the underdog mentality at the Leeds Rhinos, and I think it's an expanded competition this year.
Yeah, Huddersfield and Warrington are now in the Women's Super League.
But I think they'll add to the competition. But again, I think the 3 best clubs will be, you know, Castleford, Leeds and St Helens. They're the 3 to watch for silverware, but hopefully Huddersfield and Warrington can push them as well.
And a quick word on the Leeds coach, Adam Cuthbertson, doing a great job.
Yeah, Cuthbert loves it. He loves helping the women out, and he loves trying to make them into a better team, and I think some of his experience helped them be the underdog and lift the trophies against Castleford in the grand final. That ability, I've been there himself and done it.
Right, every week you're able to watch for Last Tackle. I've mentioned it already. We're not just going to cover the Super League, we're going to cover the Championship, League One and the Women's Super League as well. We're going to have some very special features. Next week we start a new series called Day in the Life, and we kick off with Warrington's Mike Cooper.
Adrian Morley is huge inspiration for me, and a great moment for me when he was announced at the club to be signing for us and be our captain, and you know, his presence around the place, and then the standards that he set straight away. You know, little things like body language, standing up, not putting your hands on your hips when you're tired, things that you probably take for granted, you don't realise you're doing as human beings. You know, you stood still or whatever. It's about standing up straight, sticking your chest out, never showing any weakness, and never complaining about anything. And just the way he played the game, that was a big inspiration. And I've got to know Mose really, really well now, and played with him at Orrington for a number of years. And it's kind of cool when you get to play alongside your heroes.
Yeah, look out for that special feature next week. Right, we're running out of time. This is possibly the most stupid question I've ever asked. Who's going to win the Betfred Super League, Scully?
Surprisingly, I'm going to go for Saints.
Jamie?
So my heart is obviously with Leeds.
They'll definitely be better this year. But...
Yeah, definitely be better. Might be one season too far, but I'll have to agree with Scully as well and go with Saints to go back-to-back title winners this year.
Gents, thanks for joining us. You've been watching Betfred's Last Tackle. We'll be with you every week throughout the Rugby League season. And if you are having a bet this weekend on the rugby, please keep it fun, gamble responsibly, and I'll see you next week.
He can! Toronto are heading for Super League.
2019 Betfred winning Super League champions, the Leeds Rhinos. Absolutely fabulous.
Saints are champions of Super